Okay, we're here today to talk about a range of issues that are happening in Inglewood, but actually Inglewood is a microcosm of the nation, which is an attack on our youth and their image. It's the tactics that's been in place to take the power away from local urban areas that the majority of our children are populating. So it's been a systematic assault on public education where most of our kids are. With the charter school movement, which is highly racist as well. And then they have billionaire clubs that are investing in these charter schools, and our question is why? Because everybody claims to be for education, yet we see our schools continue to be run down. Education system continues to keep our children below a standard of excellence. And our question is how that has been addressed in Inglewood. When we look at Inglewood, it was taken over in 2012 for what they quote-unquote call a cash flow problem. That problem was created by the entity that took it over, which is the state. They denied funds. They forced legislation at the behest of the local school board, but it was for a lack of information. They overstated the fiscal difficulties that Inglewood was facing, and then turn around and created the environment to have a bill passed by Rod Wright, who was not duly elected. He was part of the authors, but he was not the elected representative at the time because he was involved with voter fraud. So he licensed this bill, which is a cash flow bill, to say that the district may not have met its financial obligation, but at the time they did have funds. So in comes the state. The state takes over, and immediately the loan was for $55 million. They used about $29 million in 10 months. When they use that money, it obligates the taxpayers of Inglewood, homeowners, who have basically right now the highest tax burden in the whole South Bay area is in Inglewood, but their schools remain in dilapidated conditions. Books, educational support, resources, all of those things are not supported in a systematic way. So in comes the state, in comes executives that are foreign to Inglewood. They pay exorbitant amount of salaries to these executives. Each year they gave them raises that were not commensurate with a district of this size. And they brought in people that did not have the accurate experience for a district this size. They make all of this money, bring in friends, a lot of nepotism, people who lack the expertise that's needed to turn a district around. And then they offer no programs. There's no program to address the students leaving Inglewood for other communities. There's no program to stop what we call bright flight, where our brightest and most talented students do not receive nurturing. When we say gifted and talented programs and extracurricular programs to foster their intellectual growth and development. All the excuses are made, but we see no production. Actually, we had 3 schools performing at 800 or better API, and 6 schools prior to state takeover, and 3 schools only have that status afterward. So education has gone down. The audit of the state reports this, as well as FICMAT. They said that the education has gone down in all of these hallmark areas since state takeover, yet we have no redress of grievances because the state system is a dictatorship where the state administrator serves as board and superintendent, so he can rubber stamp whatever they want.
There's a district that I work with in Southern California called Inglewood that was taken over by the state, and you never want to go there. You never want to go there. But I spend a lot of time there. Every meeting they hold, the board, and there is no board anymore in Inglewood. It's one person gets to be the board and the superintendent, and that's a lot of power, right? That's not the way to run business, right? I mean, it's a way to make sure that nobody else is going. And really legally, the stuff he's doing it's legal, but it's wrong. So.
And our problem is that this whole process has been affected by a philanthropist, billionaire philanthropist by the name of Eli Broad, who the state administrator is a graduate of his academy for superintendent training, a member of FICMAT in terms of the consultant firm, is also a member of his academy, and these are the people that are influencing education, and they are ruining public education, and it's falling on the backs of taxpayers of Inglewood, and most importantly, it falls on the backs of our students who are the future. We are at risk if we don't do right by our children in education. Those are the lives that truly matter. We know we have movements out there, and we know, when our children are victimized with violence and all of these other things, but these are mindsets that are formed by education. So that's why this is a forefront. It's for exposure of the risks that our youth are in these classrooms and in these schools. And secondly, it is return of local control, because evidence of achievement for students achieve better when we teach them, when our own teach them, and UNESCO backs us up. The body for international education backs us up on this, and we know that it's true. Only time that you can point to in history, the greatest literary growth in this country will be from 1866 to 1935. We were just coming off the plantations, yet we went from zero basic literacy to over 80% literacy in that time span. Nobody's ever duplicated that in education, so we know how to educate our children. Our problem is that we have foreign entities, outside values, outside structures that have never had our children's best interests or best accomplishments for them in their mindsets, because that's been contrary to how the society functions. For us to rise means somebody else has to give up some of the pie. And for us to gain that pie and we educate ourselves, that's two different forms of education. Education comes from the word educare, which means to bring forth from. So we're coming up out of our community and our value system, which is to seize power and to gain ground, where they're coming from a standpoint of not to allow us to gain ground and to maintain power. So those two different forms of education. And anybody that doesn't understand that is not grounded in reality, and they offer us imaginary solutions to real problems. Our real problems are looking at this system for what it is. Is it failing, or is it doing what it's designed to do? And there's no need to make sure that this educational program is a feeder to the UC system anymore. There's no need to have gifted and talented, because they have low expectations for black and brown children. So we say that we don't tolerate that. We don't believe in that. And we want to foster the best education possible for black and brown youth, for arts, for all of the extracurricular activities as well. We want it fully funded, and we want the control back. And we're going to fight to get that control back.
Memories of phrase from my hometown. Ooh, the people I've made are the wonders of my world. Are the wonders of my world. Are the wonders of this world. Are the wonders of now. I like it in the city when the air is so thick and opaque. I love it to see everybody in short skirts, shorts and shades. I like it in the city when two worlds collide. You get the people and the government, everybody taking different sides. Shows that we ain't gonna stand. Shows that we are united. Shows that we ain't gonna take it.